Hello. Hello, hello. Hello, Vapor. Riley. Rush. Mr. Sneckerino. Riley likes my headphones. You can have them. I don't like them. Maybe someday I'll get my Bluetooth fix on this thing. Pikachu. Nice shirt. Thank you. It's shrunk a bit. it's become a bit of a muscle shirt, but you know, I don't mind flexing. I don't mind flexing when the opportunity calls for it. Trim my adult small. This is a medium. I probably should have got a large, but whatever. I didn't anticipate that it would shrink in size. Still works though. I mean, I still look amazing in it. It's not like if I were to wear this shirt out in public that anybody would know what the Wiggly Phantoms, is that a band? Yeah. It is, actually. Their hit song, I always feel like Popgun is watching me. believe they're opening for Vic Villians' concert next year. J.K.M. from the legendary Otakos. Could be. Depends on how legendary you think the Otakos are. Dad is obsessed with the Wiggly Phantom name. And they won Little Squid League. Football scarves with team names. I got like a Chicago Bear football scarf. I don't think there's many opportunities to wear Splatoon stuff in a cold environment, though. Soccer. Yeah, well, football teams have scarves as well. But I guess soccer is more well known for their fans wearing those stripy scarves. Wiggly Phantom Super Bowl halftime. I don't know. I don't think the Phantoms are risque enough to be doing the halftime of the Super Bowl. Thousand watchers live, yeah. 1,000-ish. Give or take a multiplier of about 10 or so. 100. Brush, do you actually stream? Going live. Ah. You do stream actually, don't you? Stream your team's point of view of things, or was that ton of solo queue, but not much anymore. Yeah, it'd be like that. I do solo queue from time to time. I wonder if I actually tried to stream regularly, what my average would be. That requires a lot of work. Streaming solo is draining, not because I get tilted during solo or anything, but it's just sitting and talking for 2 hours. It's kind of dull after a while. Yeah, getting affiliate's not the most difficult thing in the world. The problem with getting an affiliate is just getting the followers. But I feel like the Splatoon scene is big enough now to where if you have at least somewhat of an interesting, if you're at least somewhat interesting, you'll get those 50 followers and then just average 3 people. If you put in the effort, you should be able to get affiliate. No problem. No problem. Drink it out of a vase? No, these are these are like standard cups that they give out at sporting events. This is like a souvenir cup. As you can tell by how faded everything is, this thing's pretty old. What year was this? This is from 2012. So, the souvenir has stood the test of time. A lot of liquid you can fit in these suckers. And this is I believe a Louisville basketball, not a football cup, not soccer or American football, either or. Basketball is universal sport with the same name across the world, unless it's not. I don't know the answer to that. I do like me some water though. Popcast. Jimothy is pumped, as you should be. No reason not to be. I need to get like a stand for my desk so I can just prop my notes, so I can look here. A lot of times when I'm reading my notes, I'm looking right here, but would it be more visually appealing if my eye level was here? This is here versus here. I don't know. Make me feel more professional. That's what's important. Hello, friends, and welcome back to the Popcast. Whenever you're listening to this, whether it be live or a VOD, Twitch or YouTube, or Spotify. While you're starting to wake up from your Thanksgiving food coma, debating if Toxic Mist is a viable sub or not in the competitive game, leaving a scrim after 3 games because one of your teammates wants to go play Mario Party. Whatever it is that you're doing right now, I appreciate you taking the time out of your day to listen to this. Unless I don't. Happy post-Thanksgiving to those of you who live in a country where you have something to be thankful for. I understand that's only a handful of countries are thankful for something and will take 2 days out of the week to celebrate it. And I'm thankful for all of you. I guess. Sure. It's always fun going back home to and spending time with your main family. I hear horror stories of other people going home and interacting with their family and it just being a miserable time. I'm kind of lucky. I don't like the word blessed. I'm lucky to say that I enjoy going home and spending time with my family. It's always a good time. You know, it's interesting because my family knows that I do this. And I shared when I commentated Riptide, I shared that VOD with my family. It's like, hey, here's something cool that I thought was cool that I did, and I would like you guys to see it too. And this Thanksgiving, they asked me a lot of questions about what I do and seemed genuinely interested in it, and that made me happy. I know some of you don't tell your parents about anything competitive Splatoon-wise. Some of you live with your parents right now, which is understandable. You kind of want to keep those worlds as separate as you can. you know, I was a teenager once. I understand that. Some of you are adults, though. I know, like, went to Riptide and like put in like your paid leave or whatever, and your work was like, so where are you going? And you're like, oh, I'm just taking a vacation. And it's kind of weird. Sometimes it's kind of weird telling people that you're taking time off to go play a video game at a competition in Ohio. So I just say it's kind of cool that I can openly talk about these things with my family. I think my dad tries to lurk every now and then, so shout outs to Dad Gun. If you're listening, I know you have absolutely no idea about what I'm talking about in any of these things, but I appreciate your viewership anyways. Unless I don't. Today, normally we do like a little preview of some tournaments that are coming up down the pipe. We're not going to talk about that just yet, but instead, today we are going to be previewing High Ink 2, the sequel widely based off the success of High Ink 1. The box office success that was High Ink 1, High Ink 2 is coming back again in December. So we're going to be previewing every single team. We're talking about all 16 teams that are going to be playing in High Ink 2 this Saturday. So lots of good stuff to talk about with that. But first, it's been a good year so far. I mean, we're not done yet. We still got one more month to go, but it's been a pretty good year for competitive Splatoon. SAC, Grand Graining Grounds, the major back in February, Super Jump, Riptide, 2 Ludi seasons in the same year. Launch Day, Shopping Spree, Unforgettable Low Inks, Incidents, DC's, Shark Plays, all those fancy stuff. Nintendo coming back for an absolute ridiculous set of tournaments that, well, captivated the competitive scene for a little bit there. A whole lot happened this year that would make you think this is the best year of competitive Splatoon so far. We're improving every single year with the quality of content that's being put out there, tournament-wise. With all that already happened this year, I would still argue the month of December might be the best month of competitive Splatoon this year, if not ever. Now, I don't want to overhype things to say this is going to be the best month ever for competitive Splatoon. No, I don't know that. I haven't been keeping a critical eye on competitive Splatoon until I started doing this podcast 80 some odd episodes ago. But as far as in recent memory, I feel like December's going to take the cake here. And normally I do a little section before I start talking about the opening segment here on the podcast about like upcoming tournaments that are going on this weekend that you'll be interested in, tournaments coming on next weekend coming down the pipe. As I was looking at December, I started to think maybe I shouldn't just do a quick one-off, here's what's coming down the pipe. I should dedicate an entire segment talking about everything that's going on in December. And since it's my podcast, not yours, that's exactly what I'm going to do. So let's take a critical look at everything going on in just the first 3 weeks, of December. First off, this upcoming weekend, we have 3 tournaments that I will recap next episode of the podcast. There are 3 major tournaments going on that I normally talk about here at Popcast. First off, and this is one I keep forgetting about, and I think some of you do as well, but Minnow Cup is this Saturday. The Tower Control edition of Minnow Cup. 11 teams have already signed up for it, but I'm assuming a whole lot more will sign up over the course of the week. So we're in that kind of awkward period of, do we kick Div 4 out? Do we kind of look at everything from a case-by-case basis? Is it... Do you feel bad about getting rid of Div 4 teams? Well, Minnow Cup is doing kind of like what Low Ink did. One more hoorah. One more go-around for the traditional Div 4 teams that actually play in tournaments like Minnow Cup instead of just Div 4 teams. Oh, can we sneak in? No, you've already. We don't know who you were. Don't start caring about us now that you got an opportunity to win it. And you didn't grind throughout this tournament. But some Div 4 teams are playing in this one. I saw ITAP signed up. I saw Leg. I don't know if Wipeout Punks or BLT will be participating in it. But they get one more opportunity again to win to ride off into the Div 4 sunset with a tournament trophy in hand. After seeing Low Inc. and after seeing a couple of weeks of Ludi season go by, the Div 4 teams that traditionally play in low-level tournaments, there's 4 of them, right? Maybe 5, maybe I'm forgetting one. I really don't feel bad for any of these teams at all. You got Wipeout Punks and Leg that earn Div 4 for what they accomplish in tournaments outside of low-level. And Leg showed us by finishing 3rd place in Low Inc. They're really strong. Wipeout Punks would have showed us just the same thing if they didn't have to get a sub. Or maybe multiple subs, I believe, for Sunday that kind of doomed them then. So those 2 teams being in Div 4, good. They're successful. They don't need Low Inc. They're doing fine. ITAP has continually showed week after week that they are more than capable of being just fine in Div 4 and thriving at every instance that I can see. And BLT had a player last Low Inc. almost single-handedly win the tournament. So no, I don't feel bad for any of those teams. They're going to be just fine. And even if they don't have to win Minnow Cup, this Tower Control Minnow Cup, to prove anything. They've already proven themselves. Just because they don't have to have it all right on Saturday. That doesn't erase all the things they've been doing right leading up to this upcoming Saturday, if that makes sense. But still, Minnow Cup is going to be an exciting tournament to watch, one that we will recap. We always recap here on the podcast. Later that day, I believe not much later, I don't know when High Inc. 2 actually starts, starting time-wise, but High Inc. 2 is going on at the same time as Minnow Cup. Good. That's fine. Like, if there's a lot of tournaments going on, obviously. You're going to have to double up some weekends with some tournaments going on at the same exact time. You would want to run a tournament during High Inc. High Inc.'s an invitational. It's not like we have it's not like we're going to steal teams from anybody. None of those teams that are playing in High Inc. are eligible to play in Minnow Cup anyways. I don't think. And all of them are already more excited to play in High Inc. than they would be to play in Minnow Cup. Now, is there going to be a little bit of viewership issues? Yes. Is that a concern from my standpoint? No. People are going to watch the tournament they want to watch. It doesn't have to be a situation where SAC needs to stretch out a one-day tournament into a two-day tournament so that another unnamed tournament organization can get those views that SAC normally would have gotten. No, we don't care. As long as people are watching Splatoon 2 on Twitch, regardless of what it is, that's a dub for all of us. So if people are going to watch, I'm not going to watch Minnow Cup live. I'm still going to go back and scan through the VOD. Same thing with High Inc. People are not going to watch High Inc. live because they're going to be playing in Minnow Cup. They're still going to go back and look through the VOD. If it goes up on YouTube, they'll watch it on YouTube. I believe High Inc. 2 or High Inc. 1 is the most watched video on IPL's page, YouTube page. I could be wrong about that. Somebody could double check. Maybe the most watched is how to do the counter pick system now. But I think tournament wise, the most watched VOD is High Inc. 1 on IPL's YouTube. Second place going to March Low Inc. 2021. And rightfully so. But obviously we're going to be talking a lot more about High Inc. 2 in the upcoming segment. So we'll move right along here. There's actually another tournament going on Sunday, the day after both of these tournaments that I didn't really think about until this one came out. Launch Point Draft Cup number 7 is going to be taking place this upcoming Sunday. What makes this Launch Point Draft Cup different from 1 through 6? Well, Div 3 and below. Or is it above? Div 3 and above, Div 3 below. Who broke that down? I believe it was Sneckerino who did the math on that one. Regardless, Div 3 and teams from Div 6 through 8 or 9 are allowed to play in this one. I'm interested to see, because I've been talking about this for a while now, how there's a renaissance going on at the mid-level. There's a new mid-level that grew up in a era with Launch Point and Checkpoint and Minnow Cup and Low Ink and Little Squid League, like a new set of mid-level class that grew up in that kind of environment, taking over this old guard mid-level that didn't have anything. And now they're in +3, and they just sit in +3, and they don't play in any tournaments or do anything other than just pick up scrims in +3, and then they just upvote each other so they never leave, and they never accomplish anything. We got a new class of Div level, or Div 3, that is taken over mid-level, that grew up in something, and they know they might be more interested. The old guard of Div 3 might not be interested in playing in something like Launch Point Draft Cup. Well, I'm too good for playing something like Launch Point Draft Cup. That's below me. Well, all the other Div 3 players that grew up there might be more interested in going back home and doing a little reunion tour tournament. So that's what I'll be interested to see, what the turnout for this Launch Point Draft Cup will be. Will it be enough snobbish people pushing it off and say, nah, I'm not interested in that? Or are we going to see a bit of a changing of the guard, a renaissance, the mid-level, that is willing to reinvest in the roots that they came back from? There's also a big announcement that is coming out from the Launch Point team at the end of this one. I've heard some rumors about what this might be, and I'm not going to speculate what those rumors are going to be here on the podcast. It's not the place to do this, but I will say this: I think it is something that will send shockwaves across the a certain target group, mainly some people here. If you listen regularly to the podcast, you might be interested in what if what the announcement is going to be that I think it's going to be, which I know is an extremely vague thing to say. I think it will interest the vast majority of people that are typically listening to this podcast. So I'll be excited to see what that announcement is, if it's actually what I think it's going to be. And if it is, well, we'll spend a lot of time talking about it next week. That's just this upcoming weekend. All right. Weekend after that, Pop Gun number 2. I don't know. That'd be a lot of paperwork that go into something like that. Next weekend, the what is that? The 11th? The 11th and the 12th, correct. First off, the Squid Board Tournament Series is back, baby. Now, if any of you were a part of the original announcements of this during the last Low Ink broadcast, you were probably like, what the heck is Squid Board? Why are people interested in that? Well, if you went to Twitter and you saw all these older competitive players, not old as far as age, but old as far as people that were playing like back when Splat 1 was a thing, all the way up through till now, they were excited about it because they know what the Squid Board tournament used to be, or the significance it used to have in this scene. You talk about how old it was. I believe my team actually played in one of these things back in like 2019. Yes, the Ludi seeding tournament. I believe this was season number 8 of Ludi. Actually use Squid Board as like their seeding tournament. Nowadays they use this like a ladder, or they used to use like an Ink Academy ladder. I forget what they used this past season. They used Flutie. That's what they used, duh. But still, March 17th, 2019. That was the first and last time Destiny Troops played in this tournament. We played the Tougher Puffers. We played Fire Moon. We played Sons of Anaki. Man, I'm really dating myself reading off some of these team names. We didn't do particularly well in this tournament. Looks like we went We went 3-4. That's not bad, honestly, for back in the day. But this is what you call this one? Swiss into a I believe alpha, beta, gamma style bracket. Now, this was run back in the day when people were too naive to question formats. And, this tournament's Swiss. Okay, well, I guess that's just how this tournament is. Nowadays, somebody runs a Swiss tournament, and everyone and their mom is like, this is the worst thing ever. How good the tiebreakers? I went 5-1, and I didn't make time. Okay, I wonder how many people are going to come back out and say now, times have kind of changed. The format here in Squid Board doesn't match with what we find acceptable in 2021. I'll tell you this right now. The Swiss suck. Yeah, you guys know I feel like Swiss sucks. I feel like it's a necessary evil for Low Inc. So I'll be curious to see what the feedback is for this tournament. But here's what I'm more interested in. Who's actually going to play in this one? Yes, I think a good chunk of teams will be playing in this. It's a big open tournament on a Saturday, which is something we haven't typically had in a long time. But I'm interested to see if we'll finally get that matchup between FT-Win and Starburst in this thing. I'm hopeful because Jackpot has signed up. Now, Jackpot is more willing to play in a tournament that doesn't have a prize in it. And correct me if I'm wrong, Magic, but I feel like this tournament does not have a prize. At least there's not one listed on Battlefy. So when there's no prize, typically FT-Win and Starburst says, bye, that's a waste of our time, which in all fairness, it kind of is. But Jackpot seems more willing of the three, the big three, to play in a tournament that's just more so for clout, if anything. But just imagine a dream scenario where we finally, something we have not had since like January, FT-Win versus Starburst with no gimmicks, no limitations on what weapons they can use, no stupid roster rules, Shaq can't come across the border at Riptide, or Nintendo won't let anyone outside the United States play, or turf war involved in this tournament. Here is a scenario where those two teams could play against each other with nothing on the line other than pride, and we can see them play without any kind of restrictions. I don't know if that's actually going to happen or not, but still, that would be a good story if that were to take place. But it's not going to take away from the fact that we now have back a Saturday open invite tournament for the entire community to play in, and maybe this will draw more attention. I believe there is an attempt to try to bring back Squid boards, kind of a hub, because right now we don't really have a hub for the whole scene to come together. Reddit is untapped. Discord is all over the place, and Twitter is horrible. So there's no like centralized location for everybody to talk, other than I guess maybe TikTok is the thing, but I'm too technologically impaired to figure out how TikTok works. But Squidboard's coming back in general would be interesting. So hopefully this tournament is a success. Other than Squidboard going on next weekend, you got the Little Squid League 17 major tournament, the big Squid League going on here. This one does have a starting prize pool, and I can't wait till somebody to point this out. Hey, how come Little Squid League has $250 prize pool, but Squidboard doesn't have anything? Oh, great. No, great. I'm more curious about this, regardless of the prize pool. I'm more curious about this with the Little Squid League tournament. There is, so it's a 2-day tournament, Saturday leading into a bracket Sunday, but they're not doing Swiss for their Saturday portion. They're not doing groups either. Traditionally, they have done groups into their top cut, but they're not doing groups on Saturday either. Instead, they're going to do a ladder. And I've already released a video trying to explain how ladder works to the teams that are going to be playing in that. I'm genuinely curious from a fellow TO standpoint how this one is actually going to work out. Because I've said in the past, you can't do ladder on Battlefy unless you know someone who knows someone. That's clearly not the case anymore. So it seems like ladder is actually live now for everybody to use on Battlefy, which makes me think, okay, does that mean they've worked out all the bugs that we saw back in the Nintendo tournament? Or if in a smaller environment, are those bugs less likely to pop up? Now, another question is there still ways to manipulate it? I think a ladder setup for like a tournament with nothing on the line is fine. I feel like it's fun. I feel like low level really enjoys those kinds of things because it's like, oh crap, we got to play FT win. But as soon as you lose, you can just hit the button and you can just go right to another team. No, don't have to wait for, somebody's complaining about lag at help desk, or some team, it took 20 minutes to join the lobby and the TOs don't have the guts to automatically give an L to another team, so we got to wait 50 minutes for this Swiss round to end. No, as soon as your match is over, you can just hit the button and go to the next one. But when there's something on the line and you're playing for a spot, I wonder if teams are going to like try to find ways to manipulate it to where I wonder if you could just, oh crap, we're going up against Squid Killers here. Let's just not check in and we won't take the L for it and move on. I wonder if there's a way to where they can set up to where, okay, when you get fed a team, you have to play them. You can't just dodge some of the best teams in this tournament to try to bolster your personal win percentage. And maybe none of that really matters because you still have to go out and win on Sunday anyways. You know, it's like I said, it doesn't matter how good you do on Saturday of low ink, because on Sunday, if you want to win low ink, you have to beat at minimum 5 other alpha bracket teams, which you're not going to see on Saturday. So yeah, maybe there's some ways teams will find a workaround the ladder to get up into top cut. But just because you find a way into top cut, you still have to beat 5 other teams that make top cut if you want to win it. Not the easiest thing to do in the world. So Little Squid League 17, obviously we're going to talk about that a lot after that tournament. Very excited to see it. I'm excited to see what kind of overlays they got for that one. It seems like they're always trying to outdo themselves as far as overlays are concerned. So, we'll see what they got cooking in that one. Then the weekend after that, after we survived those 2 weekends of all the stuff going on there, we have the Girls Duo Cup, and it's been a while since we've had a Girls Duo Cup. I believe it was during the summer. It was right after the whole in-game TV fiasco before Riptide, because Girls Duo Cup switched hands from in-game TV to Dapple Productions, and I believe they immediately ran one right after that. So I believe that was during the summer. It's good to see Girls Duo Cup come back. And a lot of people obviously love seeing Girls Duo Cup come back. My wife plays. I don't think she's played in every single one of them, but she's played in a good chunk of them. It's a good way. The purpose of this tournament is for females and non-binary, I believe, are allowed as well, to meet other people that are female and non-binary. So, because this community is kind of male dominant. That's not a secret. Everybody knows that. So an environment for people to meet other people is always a good thing. And I haven't heard anything really negative ever come out of a Girls Duo Cup. Well, I mean, there's always people who complain that it exists because they can't play in it because they're morons. But I've never heard people that actually participate in this tournament complain about it. It's always just been a good way to connect and meet new people. Is somebody going to win it? Yeah, there are some really strong players that play in this tournament and are going to dominate a lot of other players that are not as strong. But I will point this out. It does also bring in a lot of the casual crowd. So it does bring in a lot of new blood to the community. And any tournament that does that is a great tournament in my book. It won't be the only tournament running that day, though, as there's some other tournaments going on that weekend. Now, let's talk about Low Ink for a minute. The date for Low Ink is not been set yet because it's not December. We always wait till December to set a date. However, if you pay attention and use context clues, And you look at when IPL is streaming during the month of December and when we don't have anything set yet, you could probably figure out on your own when Low Ink is going to be. And I will wait before I officially say anything here. I'll wait, I guess, 2 more days is when we'll announce that date. But there you go. Low Ink is coming up. Now, here is something I am going to tease, though. Because I believe either at the end of this Low Ink or by the time Low Ink comes out, there's going to be an announcement. Another one of these kind of announcements that's going to send shockwaves across the Twitterverse. I'm not going to say what it is, but I will be saying this. I have been teasing something for a long time. I have been saying, you guys just need to wait. Just wait. Something is coming, and I think you're finally going to... I don't make the call on this, but I believe... by either before Low Ink or during the final broadcast of this December Low Ink, that thing I've been teasing forever will be announced. Low Ink 2. Finally, the sequel to that. Now, everything I just listed off right here does not include Paddling Pool, Triton Cup, SOS, Squid, Junction. Oh, and there's also a Ludi season going on in the middle of all of this stuff. It is just the first 3 weeks, because after that, after the Girls Duo Cup weekend, there is there's Christmas, and then New Year's right after that. And Christmas is on a Saturday this year, which for those of us who are off for Christmas makes that kind of weird. Because like we're going to get the paid day off in the middle of the week, but then we're going to be closed but not paid on Christmas Day. It's kind of weird. And New Year's right after that. So this is a lot of stuff crammed into just 3 weeks here. The question is, Popgun, is this oversaturation? Are we going to survive this? No, we're doomed. There's too many tournaments. Everything's going to fail. It's going to be over. No, look. All these tournaments I talked about are all legit, well-established tournaments that have earned their place in the competitive scene, right? Like, these aren't just tournaments that pop up overnight and copy-paste the Low Ink rulebook and try to run our tournament on a different time. No, these are all legit tournaments that you know because they've earned that status of being a credible tournament. They're just all happening at the same time, which is fine. We can have multiple tournaments happening at the same time. We have multiple tournaments happening at the same day, the same weekend. We've proven that it can happen. There is enough teams and enough players that can form pickups that can sustain all of these events, including Ludi. And even if a lot of people don't show up, you know, Low Ink is going to get those 200 to 300 viewers. High Ink is going to get 200 to 300 viewers. Little Squid League is going to get 100 plus, probably 150 plus viewers for their event, especially on Sunday. You know, Lodge Point Draft Cup's going to get their 75 plus, maybe 100. You know, the Girls Duo Cup's going to get a lot of attention. You know, all these tournaments are going to be well received on Twitch and talked about in depth on Twitter and, of course, talked about here on the Popcast. Those are all good things. Oversaturation, I would be worried about oversaturation if we just see more and more mom and pop tournaments pop up. But that hasn't been the case in a long time. This is something I've been talking about for a long time here on the Popcast. Sustainability, tournaments with actual credibility, not growing more new tournaments, but reinvesting in the tournaments we already have. And when that happens, you're going to get a month like we're going to see in December where we're just going to have everything pop off. It's just going to be a month-long party, or at least a 3-week-long party. And then we can spend Christmas and New Year's just relaxing, recovering from it all, getting our soups and our breads and just getting all fat and sassy, as they say. Now, instead of talking about holidays that are coming up, we had a holiday last week. Let's take a look at the weekly recap and get a sense of what happened during last week. Americans were busy burning their houses down trying to deep fry turkeys. over the last weekend, so not a lot of normal weekend tournaments or weekday tournaments were going on. However, our friends over at Dapple Productions were able to pick up the slack and get things going into the right direction here. Why does the weekly recap always cause the camera to get blurry? Maybe it'll fix itself. Don't watch me. Paddling Pool 139 took place this on Wednesday. Memory taking first place in this one. Paddling Poolers taking second place. The team made up of Nico, Chico, Kelp, Drew, Mr. LGX, and Seftis, I believe is how that is pronounced. Third place went to Monkey Sanctum. 9 teams played in this double elimination tournament. It's always fun seeing all these North American teams play in these EU tournaments. I think it's because it was a Wednesday. There were some teams that were players that weren't doing anything holiday-wise on Wednesday, but they're also got the day off from school. So let's just play in a morning tournament here in Paddling Pool. I guess that's why this won by Memory. Actually, I believe the first 2 teams were in a Sanctum being the casual, but the typical EU team finishing in third place here. And they went by Monkey Sanctum. I think they added a player named Monkey recently. I can't keep up with all your guys' like nouveau names, like your non-vanilla names. I can't keep up with all that's going on with that. Triton Cup 19. Opium taking first place. Is that a that's a drug, right? Like, why are they calling themselves that? Gosh. Second place went to Turk Ussie, I believe. Did I just say something that's going to be clipped and canceled me on Twitter by saying that out loud? These kids just get these names. They're so dumb. Bandit, Oscar, Nick, and Soup making up that Turkey team. ASC Tenchi finishing in third place. Hey, that's an actual team. Opium's an actual team too. This has a stupid name. Double elimination Splat Zone only tournament that had 21 teams sign up in this one. Now, it's worth noting, Opium was the number 1 seed back in Paddling Pool, but they got upset and did not finish in the top 3. Since Memory won Paddling Pool, they switched their name to, or they didn't switch their name, but Memory became the number 1 seed in Triton Cup 2 days later on Saturday, and they failed to finish in the top 3. Who knocked Memory out of this tournament, or at least the winner side of the bracket? It would be some team called Deep Fried, excuse me, the Deep Fried Octolings, knocking off Memory in a 2-1 set. Splat zones only, so no cheesing Rainmaker there. An equality win for the High Ink 2 team getting the win there. However, Opium still finding a way after being the number 1 seed in Paddling Pool to win Triton Cup number 19. Let's take a look at Ludi, my top 3 matches from the week, where pretty much everything was played on Saturday or Sunday, or maybe today in my team's case. Number 3, give me Campfire getting a 5-2 win over Paradise in the Carbon Cup. I guess it was kind of a sick joke that these 2 teams ended up in the same group, considering they pretty much sub and pick up for each other in every tournament they play in. Offset, Paradise, Campfire, nonsense, whatever, double Carbon, hee-haw. I don't know if they actually used double Carbon or Carbon against each other in this matchup here, but Campfire getting the better end of Paradise there. Number 2, in Light, pulls off a comeback against beating them 5-4 in this Div 1 matchup. Had a 4-1 lead, in which case Light was able to come back. Now, one thing I want to point out, Rowdy made this point yesterday, and I know why Rowdy made this point, given the timing that he made this week. A reverse sweep is if you're up like 4-0 and the other team comes back on you, or like if it's a best of 5, 2-0. A reverse sweep means you win every single game when you had to win every single game. You can't, this doesn't count. Being up 4-1 and then the other team coming back doesn't count as a reverse sweep because you won 4 games in a row, not 5. So not everything is a reverse sweep, guys. Get the terminology right. Still, good win for Enlight there in Div 1. The number 1 Lodi match of the week goes out to Inkling Technology at Purdue, getting a 5-4 win over Typhoon, in which Typhoon was up 3-0 in this one. My goodness, ITAP is this, I've called them scrappy. I feel like scrappy is an understatement at this point. It feels like if you want to beat ITAP, you have to beat them 5-0. In which case, if you give them one win and you give them any shred of hope, they will bounce back and just run with it. These guys don't know how to lose. And it seemed like Typhoon should have won that one, but momentum is just a little too strong to overcome there. ITAP getting the official win of the week. I know Red Sun and Affinidots were streamed by Falco Flyer. I didn't watch it, but I did see the final score of it was pretty good. The Kansas City Chiefs had a bye this week, which hurt my fantasy team because I got Travis Kelce. Unfortunately, the Rams completed their no-win November challenge, losing to the Green Bay Packers 36-28. Doggone it. Come on, Rams. And that was the weekly recap for your Thanksgiving week, sponsored by the Wiggly Phantoms. If you want a t-shirt supporting the Wiggly Phantoms, I don't know if they sell them or not. My shirt does not glow in the dark, while other people's shirts do. That is fine. I don't want a shirt that glows in the dark. If I'm in the dark, the last thing I want is for me being the only thing illuminated. I have enough issues of light shining as it is, so I'm more of a fan of the shirts that don't glow in the dark, so this one works out just fine. Wiggly Phantoms, the official sponsor of episode 87 weekly recap. Kingmaker beat Access Denied. Yes, Kingmaker. Man, the more we see of Kingmaker, the more we think, what the hell happened Saturday at Low Inc? How did those guys go 2-4? They have no business. They're really good. Really good. But yeah, I said I felt like teams were going to figure out Kingmaker, and that wasn't the case. I just think Kingmaker's 2-0 in their group right now, if I'm not mistaken. I could be. I think we are doing another episode of Ludi Recap later this week. Just kind of a check-in to see what's happened the past 2 weeks. We'll keep an eye on that. Hike 2 is going on this upcoming weekend. Let's preview it. We always preview. A lot of people wanted me to preview High Inc. 1. And I didn't. I briefly talked about it, but I didn't dedicate a whole segment to it, or at least a whole in-depth segment to it. The reason I didn't talk about High Inc. 1, I was playing in it. As you guys know, I don't like to talk about things I play in, preview-wise, because I feel like it's just giving other teams bulletin board materials. There are teams that are so excited to play against Destiny troops as it is. The last thing I need is a clip for them to take a screenshot of and share in their team chat. Popgun said this, blah, blah, let's beat his butt in the match. It's like, all right, whatever. You guys are already way more excited playing Destiny troops than any other team anyways. I don't need to give you extra material to be excited about. But I'm not playing in High Inc. 2. All the teams that played in High Inc. 1 are banned, and it's a new wave. It's a new class of High Inc. teams playing in this tournament. So we're going to talk all about it. In fact, we're going to talk about all 16 teams that are invited to play in this tournament. No, I'm not going to do a top 10. I thought about it, and then I was like, wait a minute. If I do a top 10, and I'd be like, so like teams 8 on down, I'm basically saying, no, these teams aren't in the top 10. They're in the bottom half of the teams that are in this tournament. You can't really do a top 10 with only 16 teams. And then the teams that aren't mentioned are like, whoa, you think we're going to do horrible. You think we're the worst teams here. And it's like, well, yeah, but I guess I can't publicly say that. Also, there's no seeding for this tournament. At least there isn't really any point in doing the seeding for this tournament. It's an invitational. I mean, you could do seeding, but the format doesn't really benefit teams being seeded at all, so it's kind of pointless to do it, which is fine. That's how you kind of want an invitational to be. So I didn't want to do like a top 10 and then people think, oh, well, this is what the seeds are going to be. No, it's not. There is no seeding. So instead, we're just going to talk about every single team, but I will still give you the two teams I think are going to make grand finals and the team I think is going to win this tournament, at least on paper here. Competitive balance was key this time around. The team that won last time, it was, I believe they only dropped one game the entire time. Absolutely dominated their way through. And I think Stargaze was the only team to take a game off of them in a Rainmaker. So it was, yeah. And there was a prize pool at that one. Priority was the team. I know because we played them twice. And they KO'd us 5 out of 6 games. A Tower Control Manta Maria game, they failed to KO us. But I think a lot of people were like, yeah, this kind of sucks that this team wins. Now, there's no prize pool this time around. You're playing for pride, which makes sense. If it's, so there's nothing for teams to get crazy upset about if it's not competitively balanced. But still, the fact that there is at least the intent of trying to be competitively balanced should make some competitive for a competitive tournament top to bottom. We're going to start with the teams that did not win low ink this year. The at-large teams. Last time, there was only one at-large team. That was Stargaze, and they finished in second place. Kind of surprising, honestly, how good Stargaze did. It wasn't like a dominant performance. They were just got some wins at the right time. But Stargaze seemed right at the same level as all those other high-ink teams besides Priority. But the teams that made the at-large, I believe I got 7 of them. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yes, 7 at-large teams. First off, the Evening Chickens, a team that is disbanded and coming back here. You got some members here that have moved on to be this team Unlucky. Now, if you've been paying attention to Unlucky, they have literally won almost every single game that they've played. I believe they dropped one game in their Week 2 Ludi match, but everything else has been a 3-0 or a 5-0 or a 4-0, mainly because they've been underseeded, and we don't know how good they actually are because they keep being underseeded. But still, when they go up against the team they're supposed to play, they beat them. Now, that is not to say that they are directly the descendants of Unlucky, of the Evening Chickens, because we don't really know. All those players that played for Evening Chickens used dipping sauces names. They weren't smurfing or anything. They just had set IGNs that were for the Evening Chicken team. A team that made their debut back in the Xanadu tournament series. So they were played for a long time before they kicked the bucket, but it's good to have them back here. They won a Gamma bracket. They won a Beta bracket. In low ink. I think they made a top 4 at some point because I remember commentating them in a losers semifinals. The Fighting Dipping Sauce is definitely a fan favorite. Should be a strong team just considering that some of those players are still active and still grinding in the scene. That's going to be key for this tournament. The Geek Squids are coming back. The OG low-level Twitter content team before the Wiggly Phantoms were a thing. I know Bowen was always making art almost after every single low ink that the Geek Squids played in. A team that constantly was in the top 10 whenever I was talking about them in low ink. But they did have like one low ink where they finally did pop off. It was back in April of this year. They finished in 4th place, including going 6-0 in Swiss. And they tied for 5th in their final low ink that they played in, which I believe was May before they got kicked out for being Div 4. You got some players here that have transitioned over to the Div 4 team, Scenaria. You got Ink and Default has Furion on it as well. So these players still active, just kind of gone their separate ways. But it's good to see the Geek Squid brand back. One of the more well-known teams in this tournament. Resilience. A team filled to the brim with goobers, just the gooberish of goobers teams, especially Julian, who has way too much time on their hands. But a fun group nonetheless. Everybody, I think everybody loves Resilience's unique twist on providing funny content to the Twitter scene. March was their best low ink, getting fourth place eliminated by Red Sun. And a lot of these players are still active here. You got Daybreak that's on Paradise. You got Carbine on Watercolor. Gudako, I think I should know what team Gudako's on, but I couldn't find it initially. But I'm pretty sure Gudako is now on another team. And you have you got Silver, who is retired, who is haunting, just absolutely ripping apart these other kids in the high school, in the Nintendo versus high school league, just dropping 30 bombs against people using Squiffer and whatnot. But Resilience as a team, even though they are disbanded or on hiatus or whatever they want to call it, they have been playing as a team a lot recently. It seems like they are gearing up for this high ink. So they seem pretty excited to be playing in high ink and pretty excited to be grinding for it. They want to do pretty well. So it's good to see a team come back and actually prepare for this tournament. Symphony. You know the players who play for Symphony. Symphony, one of the more well-known teams for the individual players that are actually on it. KO, Taku, Saku, Pez, and Swampy, all still active, I believe. I don't know what Saku's been up to lately. Taku's on the West Broadway Grillers, the Grillers now. Pez on Acropora. I already forget how it's pronounced, but it ends with a pora and starts with an ac. A top 8 team in SAC earlier this year when Symphony was still active and schmoving around here, and a fan favorite team. Like I said, they got a pretty good following per player wise. So Symphony's going to be one of those fun teams that you see come back and play, but they can be scrappy. I don't know how good their synergy is going to be compared to the other teams here, because this is one of the zombie teams coming back, and I feel like zombie teams are going to be at a disadvantage to the teams that are still actually kicking around. But when Symphony was a thing, they were taking games off of Destiny Troops and Xanadu in those SAC tournaments, so they're definitely capable of being good. Thimbo IHOP, one of the few teams on this list that banned themselves from low ink. They didn't wait to get banned from low ink. They said, we're done with low ink. We've had enough opportunities ourselves. We're not going to keep growing if we keep playing in low ink. We need to move on and do other things. Now, that ban they put on themselves didn't really hold a lot of weight, because we were going to kick them out anyways. It's kind of you can't quit, you're fired kind of situation. But still, hats off to Thimbo IHOP for at least saying, we need to move on ourselves. Echo left Thimbo IHOP, and they seem to have been kind of, I don't know if they've replaced Echo or not. No, they've added Samson recently, I believe. But I'm not sure if Echo's going to be playing in this one. I haven't seen the roster for Thimbo IHOP. I don't think they've signed up officially on Battlefy yet, although they've been talking in the invite thing, and a good chunk of Thimbo IHOP watches the Popcast. So, hey, make sure you guys sign up and get your roster in. But still, this is of all the teams I've mentioned so far, the advantage Thimbo IHOP has over all of them. The Thimbo IHOP actually exists. This is the first non-zombie team that I'm mentioning here. A lot of teams, zombie teams coming back from the dead. Thimbo IHOP still kicking and moving around. You love, you know and love all the players on there. You got Damp Waffle, you got Tux, AJ, Samson, just a lovely group of people who I met at Riptide, and we're cool at Riptide, unless they weren't. Now, that's there's 2 at-large teams that I have not mentioned yet. I'm going to mention them a little bit later. Instead, let's take a detour and talk about the low ink champions, the teams who actually got the job done. They did not barf up their mom's spaghetti. They swallowed it. That's gross. So let's go in order here. First off, Fluency. Do any of you remember Fluency? Well, High Ink happened in December of last year before Low Ink, so we felt like it would be fair to include Fluency, who won that December at Low Ink after High Ink, that they should be invited into this one. It makes sense. 12 months, seemingly 12 champions to choose from. I have no idea what Fluency's roster is going to be. Absolutely no idea. I think at one point Fluency had Sam Mikado on their roster. That's not going to fly because Sam Mikado is a +1 player. Barely missed getting into +1 last month, is comfortably in +1 this month, and I believe on a DivX team. So you talk about competitive balance, that's not going to fly. That's not going to go over too well. So I don't know what Fluency's actual roster for this one is going to be. There are certain rules, like we don't just want one player from a team that won Low Ink to come back with 4 subs. That defeats the purpose of what High Ink is. So I don't know what their actual roster is going to be just yet, but they are one of the teams invited to play in this tournament that accepted the invite as well. Xylo, I'm going to say this right now. I think on paper, even though Xylo is a zombie team, I feel like on paper, these guys win this tournament. I mean, you got Action, Dino, the Charger player. You got Blue BLU, formerly a Fight Club and On Crack, sub for On Crack. Just a really good midline player. And Neo, like the one of the reasons why Persistence was such a scary team. It was not because of the brush. It was because of Neo lighting up, dropping 20 bombs on everybody that they were playing against. So that roster is, for Xylo, really strong. This is I'm just not sure how active some of these guys have been. I know, I know Blue and Dino have been active. I don't know about Neo or Action as of late. They could be. So in Xylo, when they won Low Ink, I think outside of Rising Matrix, Xylo was one of the most dominant champions we had. When you break it down, like their total wins, like their opponent win percentage, how many sweeps they got. Like there was an episode where I did where I was comparing them to Ink Reapers, and Xylo was just dominated the February Low Ink that they won. And it sucked that they disbanded because they could easily be today like a Div 2 borderline Div 1 team if they kept grinding the way that they were. So I think on paper, Xylo just wins this tournament. It won't be easy because there's still 2 teams I have in the top 2. And I don't know what their synergy is going to be like, but Xylo is definitely going to be a strong team in this one. I'd be surprised if they wouldn't. Let's talk about March. Twisted Time, one of the co-champions from March, and I still argue that they are the outright champions of March. Because they won that grand finals because the other team dropped. They still did not lose 2 times and Red Sun lost 2, or they still didn't win. They lost twice and Red Sun lost twice, but Twisted Time never got that opportunity to lose the 3rd time. Still a fun team. I feel like Eevee got a lot of credit, and rightfully so, for what happened in that March tournament, but Shadow was really strong as well. And honestly, a player that flew under the radar, especially of me when I was commentating them. But Shadow was a really strong player in that one. So it's good to see those 2 players come back. Sega Silver, Linya, and Danya. I don't know who those players are. Also playing for the Twisted Time team as well. Red Sun, the other co-champion. And also the first champion that we have on this list that still actually exists as well. Red Sun being a current Div 3 team. It's been a rough year of teams disbanding after they win Low Ink. It's been well documented here on the podcast, but Red Sun's still kicking. They're still around, still the same core roster, I believe. And Delta confirmed during the Low Ink pre-show last month that Delta is going to be playing with this as well. So it's going to be good to see Red Sun, all the flanks that they busted out there. And yes, if Red Sun and Twisted Time play at any point, if they get matched up against each other, of course we're going to put that on stream. Of course we are. It's not going to determine who won March, but it'll be fun. It'll be fun just to see those 2 play again. The May champion, Ink Reapers. I did this kind of segment when the Ink Reapers won, because a lot of people were, well, not a lot of people, but a few vocal people were upset that the Ink Reapers won as a Div 7 team because they felt like they were too good, or they had like a 2,700 player on their team or something like that. And I broke down how the Ink Reapers were statistically not the worst, but the least dominant champion to ever win a low ink in a tournament that didn't have a bracket reset in it. Without a bracket reset, they took 15 losses over the course of Saturday and Sunday, and only 3-0'd a team once the entire weekend. So the Ink Reapers, while they took a lot of losses, but they still found a way to win low ink anyways, weren't as dominant as like a lot of people were claiming that they were. It just wasn't the case. But still, the Ink Reapers have improved a lot since then. They got Div 4 in the most recent Ludi season, and I think they win the award for being the most unhappy about their Div, because they seem to talk a lot and complain about your Div channel in a language I didn't understand. But they didn't seem particularly happy that they got Div 4, so maybe they're coming into this tournament with a chip on their shoulder, something to prove kind of thing here, and they'll definitely get their opportunity to prove that against all these teams they're going up against. The team that won June, Deep Fried the Deep Fried Octolings, the June champion over a serious team that had a lot of connection issues in that tournament. Still a team you love to see win. These guys have been grinding. These guys have gone on since they won low ink to continue to be a team and to keep grinding. I mentioned they beat Memory in Triton Cup 2-1 in a Splat Zone only tournament. They've made Div 3 this past season going strong, and we love the Deep Fried Octolings here, and it's good to see them continue to improve and see them back into this tournament. It's a champion you love to see, because these are guys that were making gamma brackets and beta brackets. Like, they didn't just show up overnight and win the tournament. They grinded through low ink and earned the spot that they did as a team. And those are the kind of teams you want to see win low ink. Pursuit, on the other hand, did the exact opposite of that. Showed up in their first tournament and said, hey, we're just going to beat everyone and take the prize. Thank you. Thank you very much. We will take that. I hope history remembers Pursuit, because it's not often that we have a team go undefeated, 6-0 on Saturday and 5-0 on Sunday. It's only happened a handful of times, and the first time it happened was October of last year, so it doesn't happen that often. So Pursuit, one of those teams that did go 11-0 in the tournament. The problem with Pursuit is they disbanded like immediately after, and it was like they were gone as soon as they showed up. And I don't know what roster specifically they're going to bring. I saw Lemonade tweet out that they are going to be playing in this one. I don't know if Bebop is going to be playing or not as well, but Bebop was a really strong player in that low ink. Still, it's good to see Pursuit come back and play in this one, and have one more opportunity to get a last hurrah to add some credibility to the name Pursuit that didn't exactly last very long. Uwu Unlimited Women United was the October champion. One of the more clutch tournament wins, the only team to win low ink by coming into grand finals from the winner's side and getting forced into a bracket reset and win low ink anyways. Before, teams in that situation were 0-6 all time. Because of Uwu, teams in that situation are now 1-6 all time. Div 4, this time around, still kicking. It hasn't been that long since we last saw them, so there's not really much else to say about them. They won low ink a couple of months ago. That's pretty good. What are they going to do since then? Well, they're going to play in high ink, but outside of that, I don't know. I'd keep an eye. If I were them, I'd look at what the Deep Fried Octolings are doing. I'd look at what Red Sun is doing and try to emulate what they've been doing, or just wait a little bit. Last, but certainly not least, of teams that have won low ink that are in this one, you got Guerrilla Tactics, the current champion. I mean, we talked about him. You want to know my thoughts on Guerrilla Tactics? Watch last episode of the podcast. Talked about him a lot. I'll say this, though. In high ink last time, Blue Ring Kraken was the team that won November and then immediately got into high ink just a few weeks after that. That team did pretty well. BRK finished tied for 5th with Destiny Troops. So it's not to say, oh, they're the new kid on the block in the high ink club. They can't compete with these other teams. No, Guerrilla Tactics definitely has a opportunity to finish really well, as BRK showed last time. It's just a matter of, well, how much how ready are they, considering they just won low ink and all these other teams are a little bit more seasoned. We'll see. My top 2 teams. I'm not predicting this to be the grand finals because tournaments are unpredictable, as I've proven time and time again. But these, I feel like on paper, outside of Xylo, these 2 teams that actually exist should be considered the favorites. First off, Sanctum. Who is Sanctum? You guys know who Sanctum is. You might not know the name, but you know who Sanctum is. This was the Low Ink Incident team. This was Dragon Dynasty Wave, or Dynasty Dragon Wave. They're no longer sponsored by Dynasty Dragons or whatever, so they just dropped that, and they're not Wave anymore. They're just Sanctum. But it's still the same team with the same roster. But this is the tournament. Yeah, when we put them on, the commentators are going to talk about it. We're going to make fun of the incident. Of course, it's going to happen. When you drop a tournament like that and create buzz, you're going to be stuck with that forever. But this is the tournament where they erase a lot of that, and they remind you they're not just the team that dropped. They're pretty damn good. This is a Div 2 team, currently 1-0 in their group, and they're really strong. They probably, outside of Rising Matrix, might be the best team to come from Low Ink this year that is still an actual thing. And Sanctum's going to remind all of us why they were currently up 2-1 against Twisted Time before they dropped. Why it looked like they were going to win that tournament before they ended up dropping there. A little bit of an opportunity for them to get revenge. And it's good thing is this tournament's not on a school night, so maybe they won't get grounded if they stay up too late. The top team, in my opinion, the team that I am going to predict is going to win this tournament until they don't. Give me Sirius. The team that finished in second place twice in this tournament, back in June and July, didn't give them a shot. We didn't give them a shot to finish third place a third time. And the reason for that is because we saw what they did at Squid Junction. We saw what they did in other tournaments and realized, oh, okay, Sirius is way better than what they were when they played in Low Ink. These guys have improved dramatically. Now, they're currently in Div 3 of Ludi, but they've kind of dominated their first 2 matches. First off, they had a rematch against the Deep Fried Octolings in week 1 and dismissed them 5-1. Yikes. Now, yesterday, I believe, they played twice. A team a lot of people were saying, why is twice not in Div 2? Why are they stuck in Div 3? Well, I think Sirius said, we don't care about that. We're more interested in why we're in Div 3. They beat twice 5-1. Yikes. And that was after twice, I believe, 5-0'd the Grillers, if I'm not mistaken, or 5-1 against them in last week. So Sirius looks like to be one of the best teams in Div 3 and has improved dramatically since we kicked them out of Low Ink. My goodness. Now, it won't be easy for Sirius, as anyone who pays attention to how Low Ink formats go, it's difficult to win. And especially when you're in a tournament where all the other teams are selected to be just as good as you, is going to be hard. They've proven as well, and especially in Low Inks, they run into a wall late into tourneys. And I think Xylo's the other team that I don't have in this top 2 that I feel like should give them a scare and on paper can beat them. But the fact that they're an actual team currently, they haven't disbanded. They got synergy. They got momentum. They got the results against these other teams recently. I think Sirius is the team that's going to win this tournament. Take that to the bank. With that being said, obviously we got a lot to talk about next episode of the podcast. We got Minnow Cup to discuss. We got Launch Point to discuss. And we're going to be recapping High Ink, all of which are going to be fantastic tournaments. It's going to be a tournament-heavy episode of the Popcast next time. I talked about a couple of weeks ago that I had the next 12 episodes of the Popcast planned out. I already knocked out 4 of them, 5th, including this one. I might have too much to talk about next week as well. This is the golden age of competitive Splatoon. Enjoy it. This game is only improving. Splatoon, people aren't waiting for Splatoon 3. We're ramping up momentum to get to Splatoon 3 right now. If you'd like to be a part of the podcast in any way, feel free to reach out to me at my socials below. Twitter at Mr_Popgun, Discord Popgun, #5882, YouTube at 25Popgun, Twitch at Popgun25, Anchor.fm/Popgun. I found a quicker way to upload videos or audio to Anchor for those of you who like to listen to the podcast. So those should be out. They're not going to be out as quickly as the YouTube videos are, but they will be out probably the same day, if not the next day in the morning time. Who are we going to raid? Let's raid somebody we haven't done before. Beyond Jen? No, Taku's streaming. Talked about Taku in the for High Ink. So yeah, let's go and visit them. Hey, keep wearing your masks. Get vaccinated when applicable. Stay out of trouble. And enjoy your week. See you this weekend.